We would never start without you. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before we begin our regular meeting, I would like to have a moment of silence in honor of Fred Arnold, our commissioner. And now to move forward with the regular meeting. He will be missed on this board. First item is approval of the agenda. I do have two things that I need to add along with Jeff's recommendation. We are going to add the resolution for special election. So we'll put that under action items. And second, committee assignments we need to at least discuss. I don't think we need a motion for that. I think if we put it under discussion items. Okay, because I had at least 5 committees that Fred was on that we need a second person. But any other additions or corrections?
I guess I just have a question on committees. Can we, it's not urgent that we do it today.
No, except for personnel,
Yeah,
because that one
right.
has to meet before
Has to
next
meet.
week.
But with Bob not
What?
here, and,
Yeah, I had made
We can
note
look.
of them just so everybody has the same,
yeah, we can note which one's Fred.
but we need to at least do the personnel and highway.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Approved minutes from the board meeting and the work group session.
I would move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment period. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Approve the claims, human service. Approve the technical agreement with ABC. That's a routine agreement. Approve gambling permit for Able. And affirm the following personnel actions, and that's initiate a search for a technical clerk in the Department of Corrections, and that's with that retirement from last week. And Sheriff's Office accept the resignation of Amy Gerke, jailer, and initiate a competitive search. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Action items. Number 1, we have tested, I think, John, for this. Consider initiating a search for a forensic social worker. I think this is to fill a vacancy from last year, but you could have
Correct,
explained.
Commissioner. Last year, we had, this position was searched in the fall of 2017. It was filled in January, from January 22nd, 2018 until the 25th of July, 2018. It is, I understand, and currently in the existing budget.
Correct.
And then John and Bethany are here to speak to it.
Yeah, correct. This position was a position that was filled in 2018. The dates are as Tess suggested. In your packet is a background statement. I went through this with our Public Health and Human Services Committee at our last meeting. The position is included in the 2019 budget and also in our proposed 2020 budget. The gist of this position really is we're wanting to make a bit of an adjustment from our original plan for the position when it was originally approved. Probably one of the biggest differences is to not have the position be present in court on a regular basis. Our intent with that was that this person would have a better idea of the cases and individuals in need of assistance if they saw them right at the beginning of the process. That posed some concerns with the Public Defender's Office, and that things really bogged down and I think contributed to the incumbent person, who was an internal transfer, opting to go back to her old position. Position has been vacant since that time. It kind of, that vacancy occurred right as we were in the final planning process and implementation of the integration of Public Health and Human Services, and so it hasn't been the highest priority until now. The intent with the position is, as it was then, to work with, to focus on adult mental health and how adult mental health services and need for adult mental health services contribute to jail stay, and more importantly, very expensive placements in state operated services. So, do you have anything else you want to add initially?
I don't remember, but none of this is reimbursed by the state, right?
Portions of it's really hard to get to a granular level with our specific social workers to determine exactly what is reimbursed. The formulas that we have don't give us that ability, so it's hard to know. What we generally say is our social services operation is reimbursed by the state at about approximately 70 to 75%. So the cost for this position in general, when we consider it as a portion of the overall human services or social services budget, would be approximately 70 to 75% reimbursed. What's hard though is I can't go to that person and say, because they did this or didn't do that, it was reimbursed by this or that.
Okay.
The state could tell us that, but then they'd probably have to kill us.
Which sounds like they're gonna do here in the future.
Yeah. So.
I spoke to John earlier this morning. I'm on the committee that he presented it to, and I didn't have any real objection. But I suggested, first of all, we have talked about all positions being vetted by the Personnel Committee, which we haven't done. And secondly, in light of the DHS mess, I said I'm hesitant to hire and spend money not knowing what kind of a hit we might have. John explained that might be down the road, but in the meantime, I'd like to at least put a hold on this for the present time and review it again. The other issue in my mind is that of last week, I forget exactly which day, we had 7 prisoners in the jail. So and I think 5 of them were in for DWI, not any mental, at least not observable mental issues, and so the urgent need, I don't believe, is there. And again, John explained or informed me of one very expensive recent one, so I'm not saying let's shelve this forever, but I'd like to at least put a hold on it until we get a little bit more information on what the state's going to try to get from us and how our our jail population, whether it increases or where we're at with that, so
May I respond to that?
you sure may.
Commissioner, we only had a couple of moments to talk in the hallway, but a couple of thoughts on that. I did mention a recent specific case that it cost us $21,000 for a 14-day stay in a state-operated service. Those cases, well, fortunately in Houston County are not numerous. It doesn't take many of them to really be a budget challenge. I think the other thing that's important to note is the human toll that it takes. These are people who are struggling pretty significantly. Our intent with the position is to try and coordinate efforts better to prevent that from occurring and come up with better community-based solutions for individuals facing that. And it wouldn't be just the people who are in jail. In that case, it was one that came through the law enforcement and through the jail, but those are cases that we, as I've talked with, especially with the committee, the two largest program-based cost drivers for public or county public health and human services is out-of-home placement and adult mental health. This is an attempt to change a variable in some of our most challenging and most expensive adult mental health cases. I'd like to sit here and guarantee that by hiring this position you will avoid any of those in the future. That isn't the case. But I think we can do a better job of coordinating the services, providing a better and more humane approach for the people that we're serving, and also a more cost-effective means of addressing those services. So.
Again, John, I would just question the fact that I could see us having the program and not necessarily the position.
Mm-hmm.
With such small numbers, would it not be possible to have the person, for instance, who was in that position that came back, so we have one person in the month of December, so deal with that one person through existing staff rather than establishing a full-time position for small numbers, and maybe you can't answer this, but what might have been done to prevent the $21,000 person from ending up in the state rather than what could we have done locally?
Yeah, two things. With regard to that specific case, I don't want to get into too many specifics because there's personally identifiable types of things. We have in place a plan to be able to address that. Also, as part of the background statement that's in your packet, it isn't just one person. We would allocate our cases in adult mental health to better address and prevent some of these things from occurring, while also being available for coordination of our Rule 20 process. Do you want to add anything to that?
I think it's important to note, as John said, that it's not just the caseload that's on the sheet of paper that you've been provided. We have 2 adult mental health case managers right now, and they are at the cusp of being at the state mandated number as the maximum number of cases they can hold. And so this person will do more than the one individual or the few individuals in the jail, and it's not all a jail position. Okay. And some of the individuals in the jail, as you said, they may not have a noticeable mental health concern, but if they're there for a chemical dependency need, that is also what this position covers. So a DWI or a possession, and if they need a Rule 25 assessment, they start with this worker to get that process going.
So this person would not be at all the court cases. This one would be working with our social workers in adult mental health, and then if needed, would go deal with the jail personnel or...
Yeah, I think we'd have a fairly consistent need for either the Rule 25 types of things with chemical dependency, Rule 20 commitment processes, discharge planning, so as people are being discharged from jail, providing options for those people to hopefully kind of chart a different course and provide information and assistance for them as they are discharged from jail.
How long have we been kicking this around, John?
We've been kicking this around for quite a while. I know we've had a number of conversations at our
It's
committee.
come up on committee meetings quite a bit,
Yeah.
and the last one we had, neither I or Jack had a problem with filling this position, especially if it's already budgeted.
It's not a new position, is it? It's filling a vacancy
This
that
is filling a vacancy.
the lady left? Okay.
Correct. And so it's in the 2019 budget that's approved. It's not an additional cost.
Right.
It was, however, prior to getting the DHS information, and that money's not budgeted.
Correct.
On
And
the-
to
on
that, or, I'm sorry.
On the overcharge you're talking about, Jack.
Yeah.
On that, that's gonna be down the road a ways, because I've been keeping up on that, and a lot of the counties said they're not paying a dime until,
I talked to Winona County
yeah,
yesterday, and
they're
they
not
said the
gonna
same
pay a
thing.
dime until something gets resolved here, and the governor's gonna catch a lot of heat for this, so I know we gotta worry about it, I get that, but I think that's down the road for next year, for sure, so.
Yeah,
I think we should just fill this position, move on with it. We've discussed it probably for 6 months at least. So, that's my feelings on it.
Well,
Commissioners, one additional thought on the DHS news that we shared last week. I would agree, and I would agree with what you're hearing from your colleagues. That is a potential liability that the state would like to shift cost burden to counties. It's far from resolved that that would be something that would end up being our liability. There is no fault or reason based on anything the counties have done that has incurred those errors.
That's just it.
And so I anticipate a long process before counties are forced to do that. And what I get from my colleagues too, and what I recommended to the board last week was similarly, we should not pay a dime until forced to do so. And to be, when I say forced, I would be looking for what is the legal ground that they stand on to say that this is in fact a county liability and not a state liability.
Exactly, and if all 87 counties stood together,
I anticipate a legislative solution
Yep.
and potential legislative action in this next.
it should be an
session.
interesting topic at AMC for sure. So,
And Maxa as well. I'll be at Maxa next week and hope to gain additional information.
well, I would still make a motion to delay the implementation or the hiring of the, until reviewed by the Personnel Committee, because we've adopted the plan to have all positions go through personnel, and we'll be meeting next week, so it wouldn't be another lengthy delay.
Is there a second? I think the motion failed for lack of a second.
I make a motion that we fill the position.
I'll second that.
And seems to me this was brought up at personnel before. Hasn't it, Jeff? I'd have to look back at my notes, but I just feel that we need to move forward with this.
I believe it was brought up prior to the previous hire, but not since the previous hire. Does that make, yeah.
You mean prior to when we made the original hire? I would assume it was then. That was some, year and a half ago.
I'd have to look at my sheet from back then. But
Yeah, I don't recall.
There
Sorry.
may have been general discussion, Commissioner. I can't recall.
Right, general discussion about it, and I know kind of some progress updates on what we were looking at and revising the position, but I don't know that we discussed it in depth,
No,
that I recall.
not recently.
All in favor of initiating a search.
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Motion passed. Consider,
May I ask a question? So is it your anticipation that we will be meeting next Tuesday on this matter then, commissioners? For personnel?
I think Personnel
thought-
Committee has to
thought-
meet before Tuesday.
I thought we were gonna meet today sometime, if we
No.
had time.
Because of, the
Maybe.
joint.
We are meeting today,
Isn't it scheduled
but we
for the
don't have,
second?
we,
Yeah.
if we have time, we can
Yeah,
meet
our-
on,
Yeah, the intent was to meet after this meeting.
Yep.
for
For the
the,
Personnel Committee.
No, we
for
haven't- I thought it was
the
scheduled for the
assessor's
second.
position.
For the assessor's position, and we can talk about it then too if we feel like it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think Highway was the second before the board,
Highway was the second before the
Yes.
tax.
Truth and
Yeah.
Taxation meeting.
Right. Yep.
Just wanna
Okay.
get a date.
What time is that meeting
When,
today?
when we're done here.
After we're done here, so who knows?
Yeah.
It's shortly.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, I just wanted clarification on that.
Thank you.
And if we have time before you have to leave for the
Right.
joint board.
That's not till 1
1
though, right?
o'clock in May. Speaking of Mabel, Eric, there is all 4 commissioners are coming from Fillmore County. So with Jack and I, that we would have a quorum,
Oh, okay.
but just,
Don't tempt me.
well, I know you have
Well, there's snow coming, so.
Yeah.
snow coming concerns, but anyway,
Yeah,
that's
I'll
just
take
taking
that under
into
consideration.
consideration there. Okay, consider approval of the Wetland Conservation Act. Aaron?
Morning.
Two wetland applications for the board's consideration today. The first one on the agenda is the application of Robin Moore. Robin Moore submitted an application to install some drain tile in a field she cultivates. The TEP panel met on site and concluded that she qualifies for an exemption within the program. The TEP created findings as follows. The TEP viewed the site and reviewed aerial images from 1980 through 1991, and the TEP found that the purpose of the TEP panel on-site review of Robert Moore's property was to evaluate her proposal to install drain tile within a field. The area was planted with annual seeded crops or was in a crop rotation seeding of pasture grass or legumes in 6 of the last 10 years prior to January 1, 1991. The proposed project therefore qualifies for an exemption under Minnesota Rule 8420.0420 sub 2A. The board is the final decision maker on this application. Questions regarding Ms. Moore's application?
What township is that?
Jeffers.
So we're looking for a motion to approve the wetland application submitted by Robin Moore.
I make a motion, we approve the application.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I just have a question.
Oh,
What does the drain tile, I guess I'm not familiar enough to,
I
No,
believe it's
it's-
intended to remove water from the field.
okay.
It's,
So it's a
to drain the field, wet fields, people tile to,
And
especially the last couple of years, it's been quite a battle, so,
with a heavy rain.
Yep. so then they, yep.
Okay.
The second application is from
Wait,
Gerald.
wait.
All in favor?
Oh, yeah,
Aye.
Sorry.
Opposed?
yeah.
Okay.
That was in favor, Jeff.
Got it.
Application number 2 is from Gerald Skifted for a grade stabilization project. Again, the TEP panel met on site and reviewed his plans in an office setting and created the following findings. The project qualifies for an exemption under Minnesota Rule 8420.0420 sub 2, impacts resulting from soil and water conservation projects.
So this is a bank stabilization or
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bank, it's more of a drainage
drainage?
stabilization, yes.
So there's a little tile going there too, or?
There's no tile, I believe it consists of an inlet chute and then some riprap style rocks. and
Yeah,
rocks.
I see that in the map here, where they're working, so. I make a motion, we approve that wetland application for Gerald Skifton.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
I assume you know him? I assume you know him?
Yeah, he's in Houston Township.
Okay, moving right on. Consider granting approval to apply for the MDA noxious weed and invasive plant grants.
It's actually, I'll let her explain, but there's actually two different grants to consider here. So, first,
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
please.
Yeah, so first of all, this is for the, as you said, the invasive and noxious weed plant grant through Department of Ag. It is the same grant as the one we applied for last year to do some Japanese hop work. I just kinda wanted to update you on that.
Microphone on.
First, we did have.
Amelia, it's on, but can you get that closer? Thank you.
Yeah, is that better? So this is the same as that Japanese hops grant last year. We did have just over $13,000 that they didn't spend on that this year because of high water and some issues with landings. And so we're working on amending that so that that can be rolled over, amending the contract so that money can be rolled over into 2020 then, so we can finish up that work. Part of that too, we're going to amend it to include some money, or to move some money around for Palmer Amaranth education. We have had a second site now confirmed in the county, but that one just had a couple different plants. But now that we know it's here, I want to do, the Department of Ag takes care of all the eradication work and kind of the research and everything, but I want to do some more outreach and education on it. So then moving forward, like Jeff said, there are two proposals here. One is actually being submitted by the county, and then the second one's a collaboration with Winona County. The first project I'm submitting on behalf of Houston Township, and they are looking for some capital expense money to purchase a sprayer. The primary weed that they've mentioned they would like to work on eradicating is wild parsnip, but of course there's other ones that are kind of around, like cutleaf teasel, knotweeds, and hemlock that are kind of around the area. And so part of this is that I'll do some more surveying prior to then spraying, hopefully. But like I said, the application is more for the purchase of the sprayer, and they have worked with County Highway, I believe with Pat, to select equipment, and they already have an herbicide regimen figured out, and so that's all included as in kind in that. Are there any questions, I guess, regarding that application?
Well, I'm somewhat familiar with the Houston Township application for that sprayer. They've been trying to do with a spot sprayer, and it's not very effective in getting all the weeds in the road ditches. This sprayer here will help improve that application method and keeping that under control, and plus they can go out and do it twice, early and then late. I think it would be beneficial, so I think it's a good program. I know they're appreciative for Amelia to help them out getting this. It's a lot of hoops and paperwork to jump through, but I think it's a good thing.
Would the
Okay.
grant pay 100% of the cost of the sprayer, or is the township picking up a portion?
The township will have to pick up about $1,500, I believe. The max for capital expenses in this grant is $5,000, and so they did go a little over that, and then all the herbicide bill.
It's about 7,000
So
or
they got
whatever.
some skin in the
Okay,
game
so-
too.
So they'll have some in kind, and then they'll
Mhm.
have to provide their personnel and everything.
And this is also available to other townships too, correct?
It is, yep.
Yep.
And I have had, another township inquire about it.
Yep.
But I think they're gonna see how this one worked out,
Yep,
so.
yep.
So we're basically just making a motion to approve applying for this grant.
Yep, I just need, I need approval before I can apply. Would you like to do them separate, or I can?
So,
This,
Take
this
care
is
of that one
not the.
first.
the
we-
SIP,
we're-
go
I'm sorry.
ahead, go ahead.
Oh, we're taking on the Winona for one.
That's an Oriental Bittersweet project.
Okay, so that,
But-
that's,
but
that's
that's
separate.
definitely
separate.
application.
So
Yeah.
let's make a
So it
motion
just-
on this
okay.
one first. Two separate motions.
I'd move to have Amelia go ahead and apply for the grant discussed.
I second that.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, the second grant is for,
So this year they kind of were looking for more collaborative regional projects, and so we were approached by Winona County, to do some work on Oriental Bittersweet. The city of Winona has had, over the last couple of years, has done a lot of work. They've found a couple really thick infestations, within the city, and so Ann has been really active in getting out, or doing outreach, and then also, getting the community involved in eradication and surveying of that. And so, because it's so close, we haven't, we think it's out there, but really the work that they've done in a county that I'm aware of is, MDA surveys roadsides, and then, the DNR has found some, on DNR lands, there's some on state forest land, and, Beaver Creek Valley is a major infestation we have, mapped in the county. But I guess as part of their project, we would do some more outreach, and it's stuff work I planned on doing anyway, but this would provide, outside funding for it. And, so it'd primarily be outreach to private landowners, cause there is a little bit up on the north side of La Crescent in Winona County, but, I'm sure it would work its way south. And then Winona County has interns, and so they will come down and kind of respond to any contacts we get from landowners as far as maybe, confirming that it is Oriental Bittersweet and not American, and then also, doing some eradication, which would take place the following year. This particular application is a 2-year application. So as far as my time involved, it would be more kind of minor administrative things, and then they would train me as well on how to treat and identify the plant. But Winona County does take the primary role in it.
So you're not gonna get spread too thin?
I don't think so, except most of this will be outreach, and if, press releases and things are, something I'm hoping to get done this winter, so I can just
Yep.
turn in
Okay,
turn it in the fall, or the right time of the year.
yep.
So hopefully the hops work will be done more in the summer, and then this will come into play after that.
I make a motion, we approve for the search of this grant with
partner with Winona County.
Winona County.
I'll second.
All in favor, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Briefly, just on the bittersweet.
Sure.
So many of you know I live in Winona County, and I've participated in some of the efforts they've taken up there to take on the bittersweet. And also, as a result of an online map, I've been contacted by the DNR to ask if I need assistance on private property to eradicate the bittersweet. That was based on their Environmental Service Department's recommendation that oftentimes this grant money is distributed based on how many reports they get from a community. So she encouraged me to download the app onto my phone, and if I find it, take a picture of it and report it that way. I did that in the past. Last week I was contacted by the DNR based on that submission that I sent in previously to ask if I needed assistance from their, I think they have a crew that works on that in areas where there's not a known infestation. Previously, they prioritized those because they didn't want it to spread. So board members, township officials, or any landowners can grab an app on their phone and report it. It's called the EdMaps. It's early detection. I'm not sure what the second D is, but it's pretty simple. You pick the species, you click a picture, and it grabs your location. You send it in, and I understand at that point they verify that this is a picture of what you think it is, and then they get in touch with you, and or at least they have that data so they know, where they should focus efforts. So it's a great tool for landowners. Ed's Map, it's an app that goes on.
It is.
And for any weed that would, you take a picture.
It's not specific to
Yeah,
bittersweet, but
yeah.
I think the focus now is on bittersweet. But
Well,
it's a
like,
great way to.
especially for Palmer,
That we'll get into.
that's a hard one to identify. That gets confused a lot with something else, so.
Yep.
I'm just confused on the bittersweet. Is that the same one that is used decoratively in?
There is a native bittersweet, and then Oriental. The Oriental's been in North America, I believe, for a number of years.
What does it do? I mean, it chokes out other plants, or?
Yeah, Oriental grows a little thicker and larger than what the native species does, and so it'll actually just end up choking out trees, so it can wipe out a forest, a small patch
Really?
of forest in a quick amount of time. It's much heavier, so now when we get these big heavy rains and heavy snow events that we've kind of been getting lately, it'll cause the branches and things to break. So
It's a vine, so it
yeah, it's a
climbs onto other trees. But yeah, any private landowner who has concerns about invasives in their forests or their fields, getting it in the network so that the agencies that focus on that know where the problem exists.
But the
It's really easy to
bittersweet
do
has
it.
an orange berry? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks the same as the native,
Has a-
except the native has kind of a red shell around it, whereas the Oriental has more of a yellow shell.
Okay, thank you.
Amelia, you said there was a second Palmer find?
Yeah, the second one was just two plants. They were both female, and so there was no pollination that taken place. There was no seed set at all. The MDA has kind of followed up on it, and I guess they're just ruling it out as maybe bird traffic.
I'm sure that's how it's getting spread, as the birds, yeah.
Yeah. So
Is
unfortunately-
it near the other one, or? Not really.
As the crow flies, I would say 5 or 6 miles.
Okay.
Well, so now you've
Yeah.
identified the bird, right?
Yeah, right. And yeah, it was in a bean field, and they had pulled it. They thought it looked odd, so they pulled it before they combined. We went out and grabbed it then, but like I said, it was just two plants.
Hmm.
Well, it's good that these guys are calling in and
Catching it.
notifying, yep.
Yeah, everybody's been very proactive in this, so hopefully we can catch it before it
Yep.
spreads rapidly.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Doing a good job there. Okay. Looks like our engineer's up next. Consider approval of the low bid for the Lorenz Road.
Is this
Good
it
morning.
here, or?
So for this one, chief, looks like this is the bid summary sheet. It's a bridge in Boca Township that we shut down in partnership with the township here about a year and a half ago. The bridge is in poor condition, deteriorated, that it wasn't safe to have traffic going over it anymore. The roadway is a low volume roadway, so the township has determined that they wanted to remove the roadway across some state DNR land. We had 8 bidders on the project. The low bid was Generation X Construction at $84,180. The bids varied anywhere from there up to $178,000. The work will be completed sometime between now and beginning of September of 2020, so the contractor has a big time frame to do this if they want to get the work done when the ground's frozen. so if it's wetlands, that might be easier for them, otherwise they can wait till, midsummer if that works better for their schedules, so. Generation X has done work for the county on a couple other projects previously, so.
So that bridge is closed at the present time?
Yep,
Yeah, the
been
road's closed.
This bridge actually has been talked about being closed back since I started here 12 years ago, so I mean, it was something that's kind of been a waiting game for that bridge to deteriorate to that point, to shut it down and remove the roadways, so. The traffic that used to go that way, it's really not a huge benefit. They might save 2 minutes of travel time, 1 mile, half mile.
I know of one guy that uses it all the time. He'd probably be upset, but he lives right across from there, so. But yeah, that bridge is in bad shape. So this is just removal of the bridge, nothing with the road?
It'd be removal of the bridge and the road across the DNR portion of the land, so.
Why do we have to do that?
Going from, it's part of the funding source that we have. The state doesn't wanna have abandoned roadways that no one uses going across state land or any place. The money is actually 100% covered by, the road and lieu bridge funds. So really there is not a township match on this part of the removal.
There is a township match?
No, there isn't.
No.
There's not on
Okay,
the
good.
road and lieu. So part of that purpose of that is that they don't wanna have townships or counties replacing bridges that don't need to be replaced. So give a little bit of incentive of taking stuff out instead of replacing stuff that's not needed.
So this bid is to remove the bridge
This
and the
remove
part of the
bridge,
road on the,
The gravel, it used to be trunk highway 16, so underneath the gravel is concrete. So they need to remove the old concrete, regrade it, do a little bit of seeded mulch, and then it's all gonna revert back into wetlands, like the adjacent land next to it.
this is a road between Highway 16 and 21, County 21.
Yep.
Yeah.
Would it be all of that road, Brian, or just a portion of Lawrence?
It'll be the portion that goes through the DNR land, so when you leave off Trunk Highway 16, there's 2 building sites. The road will stop a little bit beyond that building site, and then the township's talking to landowners as far as, is that gonna remain a township road, or is that gonna become a private?
Driveway.
It'll still be Lawrence Road, it just won't go through.
It won't go all the way through, yes.
So we need a motion to approve the low bid from Generation X.
So moved. Oh.
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we need to open the bids that we have received on the 22-acre parcel. And we have our auditor here.
You want a closed session on this?
We'll close them after we open the bids, because we have to open them in
Morning.
open session, and then we can go into closed.
Okay.
Okay, the purpose of this is the bid opening for the 22 acres, approximately 22 acres of ag land located along State Highway 76 within Caledonia city limits in Houston County, Minnesota. Parcel number is 211152002. The bid shall contain the name, address, phone number, email address, parcel number, and bid amount. Each original bid shall be accompanied by a cashier's check payable to Houston County Treasurer for 5% of the bid as earnest money deposit. All bids were received at the auditor's office by 9:00 a.m. on yesterday, November 25th. And we did actually receive 3 bids. So I will open each bid separately and call off the name of the bidder and the amount, and if there was a earnest money check in there. So the first one is received from David Fitzpatrick. His bid is $110,000. An earnest money check is enclosed. The second bid is from Dennis Gavin. Everything is all there. The bid is for $145,000. The earnest money check is there. Okay, the last and final bid is from Joseph Schieber. His bid is for $157,500, and the earnest money check is there.
Say that again, Donna? 150.
Okay, I should probably announce that twice, I'm sorry. The bid was for $157,500. Do you want me to read any of those again?
110, 145, and 157.
That was Sheber,
Sheber. Yep.
Cheaper. Okay, I can read it one more time just to get everything correct. David Fitzpatrick, 110,000 even. Okay, Joseph Schieber, 157,500. And Dennis Gavin is 145,000 even. So it looks like Joseph Schieber is the highest bidder.
At this time, being 10:20, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss or consider.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to come out of closed session at 10:33 from.
I'll move to come out of closed session.
Second.
At 10:33, all in favor?
Aye.
That way Bob will be involved too.
Mm-hmm.
You want to announce, Teresa, what the decision?
You want me to, or?
Yes.
Okay. Give Craig a second. Ready, Craig? All right, great. The board came out of closed session at 10:33, discussed the bids received, and with that, I'll turn it to Commissioner Jones.
I make a motion that we do the bid off as it was advertised
Okay.
on the December 2nd.
So the bid off between the top three bidders in this case on December 2nd at 10 o'clock in the Commissioner's boardroom, with the final bid from that to be approved at the December 3rd board meeting.
Correct.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Attorney Yant. Okay, the next
So,
big item of number 7 is adding the Resolution 1942 for Commissioner Vacancy District 5. I think I'll read through this so everybody, even though I believe you all have a copy of it. Whereas a vacancy currently exists in Commissioner District 5 due to death of the Houston County Commissioner Fred Arnold effective November 21st, 2019. And whereas Minnesota Statute 375-101 requires a special election be held to fill a vacancy if 1 year or more remains in the unexpired term. Now therefore be it resolved that the Houston County Board of Commissioners adopts the following procedure to be implemented by the Houston County Auditor Treasurer in the filling District 5 vacancy. In accordance with MS 375-101, vacancy in the office of County Commissioner, the following schedule for a special election shall be implemented. The Auditor Treasurer shall post and publish the notices required by law. Filing period, Interested candidates to fill this vacancy shall file their affidavits of candidacy and pay the filing fee with the auditor treasurer between Monday, December 2nd, 2019, and Thursday, December 12th, 2019. Filing hours are 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Thursday, December 12th. The filing fee is $50. Primary election, if needed, the special primary election shall be held Tuesday, February 11, 2020. Polling hours will be 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Canvassing will be Friday, February 14, 2020. General election, the special general election is scheduled for Tuesday, February 11, 2020, if no special primary is needed, with canvassing to take place on Friday, February 14th. Otherwise, a special election will be held Tuesday, April 14, 2020, polling hours between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Canvassing will be Friday, April 17th, in La Crescent Township with no waiting period. So I need a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay. Moving on, information item, Carol, MCIT dividend notice.
I just wanted to note that this is the typical dividend that we receive each year from MCIT. The board in 2008 had designated this to be for capital expenditures.
Right.
We were notified by our auditors that there is the possibility that we actually have to credit some of that back into human services because they receive federal funding for it. So I'll work with Heidi to find out how much that would be.
Okay.
This keeps going down, doesn't it?
Yes.
Is that because of more claims, I would assume?
I'm assuming. Our premiums have also gone down too.
Okay.
You know, what we've actually paid in, so.
Well, it's,
How much was it last year?
90 some.
Yeah, it went down
91,
significantly.
Yeah, $91,008 or.
And it is based on usage too, right, for counties? Or like,
Well, right, it's, you know, it's a pooled dividend.
Right.
It's not, you know, we're all thrown in together, there was this much extra, so we
yep.
get a reimbursement based on our portion of our premiums. So it's been pretty good. I mean, it was as high as 125,000 a couple of years.
I remember.
But then, like I said, our premiums have also gone down.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we're not paying up front.
it's still a nice piece of money to receive,
Well,
so.
Yeah.
We should be getting the estimates for
Yeah, we haven't seen that yet, have we?
2020
Nope.
soon.
It concerns me that it keeps going down, and that shouldn't be happening. You know, I see that there's cases where I mean, you're gonna have something, you're gonna be using it, but then some of it can be avoided too, so it's a concern that keeps dropping, especially this, it was like 20,000, so.
We have a very strong advocate for our district in Marcia Ward is on that board.
Yeah.
So.
But Marcia's such a shrinking violet, she probably won't speak up.
I only heard from her twice yesterday. Thank you, Carol.
Yeah.
Commissioner reports.
Do you want to address the committees?
The what?
The
Committees?
Oh, yeah. Well, that I had under discussion items. Okay. But we can discuss it right away. I'll start with, we actually have a list from Jeff on all the committees and who does what. And as Commissioner Miller mentioned, we should really wait for Bob to be part of this discussion also, but in the essence of a need on two of the committees, Highway Committee and Personnel Committee, who need to meet before next Tuesday's meeting, we do need to fill those two. I had down 5 committees that he was primary on, and that was Finance, Land Use, Highway, Personnel, and Comprehensive Plan. And as you see on the list, you know, he was alternate for a few different things. But I'm only concerned with the Highway and Personnel at this time.
Okay.
So, and I know,
We've essentially discussed these already.
yeah, and this is just for record.
Right.
We're not making motions or anything, but,
Just, you know, substituting, so. So Highway Building Committee was Commissioner Johnson,
Yep.
and for Personnel,
Miller.
Miller. Okay.
and I would definitely do Finance because Bob is already on that committee, and so he won't have any say about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd be interested in land use, but we can discuss that later.
Okay.
I'm also doing on the water planning board. I've been filling in for the last couple months with
Oh,
for
yeah.
Fred on that. I can continue. I could continue that too.
And I would be interested in the comprehensive plan. But there again, if we can make final,
Well, see, Bob's on that too, right? And
yes,
Fred was.
he's on that one already.
Well, we can discuss that at a later date.
But at this point, Highway and Personnel, we have Jack and Eric, and Eric and Jack.
All right.
Okay. And Finance, I'll go on with.
I'm
Okay,
just looking to see if there's anything else that jumped out that has.
maybe bring up the other ones then.
um,
Those are the only two I know are
I-
meeting before
when
next
is the-
week.
When is the next Extension Committee meeting?
That's, a week from Thursday. So December 5th or whatever the date is.
Okay, so we can address that next
Yes.
week.
It's the first Thursday of the month.
Yes.
Yep. And how about EDA? I think do we have an EDA meeting in December?
I believe we do. She's
But it won't be before next week?
usually the first Monday, or Wednesday, I mean.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll be after our meeting.
So we can address that
meeting.
next week
Okay.
on the 3rd as well. Okay.
You'll make note of that for
Yeah.
next week?
We'll bring it up
Okay.
again next week.
Okay. Okay, now we can go back to commissioner reports.
I really don't have anything right now.
Okay.
So I'm good. I don't have anything to report. I would just like to say we're gonna miss Fred.
Me too. Commissioner Miller?
Yeah, I haven't had since our work session either, and I would join Eric in expressing how much Fred's going to be missed. And I would just, Carol and her daughter, and Janet and I were at the Sunday church service at Fred's church in Spring Grove, and he belonged to a brass orchestra, and people came from, I mean, a long ways away. Fort Atkinson, if any of you know, is down by Madison, the other side of Fort Atkinson, the east side of the state, Iowa, and all over. And they played at the service, and it was heartwarming. And knowing Fred as we all do, the last hymn was Beautiful Savior, and the minister said, this might surprise you folks, but Fred wanted this done a certain way. And his son-in-law played a solo on Fred's trumpet for the first stanza, and it was just very, very nice. Gonna miss him. That's all I have. I haven't had a meeting since the work session.
I did want to bring out that we have Truth and Taxation next Monday night at December 2nd, 6 o'clock. And that's to discuss the budgets, not evaluations or valuations, tax evaluations.
Discuss levy, you mean, or
Well,
Or-
questions about the budget, which has an influence on our.
levy, yep.
And next, one of the things for next regular meeting on the 3rd, we do need to discuss salaries for non-union employees and elected officials so that we can finalize the budget and set a levy on December 17th. So be prepared to discuss that next week. AMC gifts, I think I have that under control. I'm actually going to get some coffee and mugs from Heart Rock Coffee, and Spring Grove Pop. So for AMC conference. And I think we should make a special note about Tracy Erickson and recognition of the K-9 honors that he received this past month.
Yeah, him and Roman, that was.
Him and Roman, yes.
Yep, that
Very-
was,
yeah,
that was
impressive.
very impressive, that was.
Very
That
impressive.
was countrywide, so that's a big deal.
I know.
Yep, and I know Tracy works hard with them dogs. And, so, he's made the county proud.
Yes, exactly. And those are the notes I had written down. Anything else to come before the board? No public comment? Then we need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.